Welcome to the channel, where today we delve into the electrifying, jaw-dropping saga of a coin so overlooked, so ordinary on the surface, yet so astonishing beneath its copper-nickel skin that it has left numismatists, collectors, and historians spiraling down rabbit holes of speculation and disbelief. What if a small mistake, invisible to most, turned a simple 1979 Jefferson nickel into one of the most valuable and mysterious coins ever struck in American history? Imagine holding a coin in your palm, one that passed through the hands of millions unnoticed, yet harbors secrets that could rewrite numismatic history, a coin born not just of metal and machinery but of missteps, anomalies, and perhaps even intentional concealment, a coin whose errors are so unique, so unrepeatable, that it defies logic and valuation. And its story begins not in the spotlight of auctions or the quiet pages of collector catalogs, but buried in the unnoticed chaos of the U.S. Mint's production floors during a turbulent era when the government was undergoing economic strain, production quotas were skyrocketing, and Mint employees were pushed to their limits, a time when haste and human error danced dangerously with machinery to produce one of the most elusive treasures in coin collecting. A 1979 Jefferson nickel with errors so profound and perplexing that even experts hesitate to agree on what caused them or how many might exist, if any more do at all, and what follows is a journey unlike any you've taken before, a swirling vortex of lost dies, doubled features, off-center strikes, rotated dies, misaligned mint marks, missing layers, ghostly images, and a phantom-like over-polished reverse that led some to wonder if these coins were intentionally tampered with, smuggled out, or quietly recalled before the public could notice. Because how else can you explain a coin struck with such abnormalities that it appears to morph under light, revealing Roosevelt's ghostly outline where Jefferson's profile should reign, or a reverse that shows Monticello not once, but blurred in a doubled vision that no ordinary machine could have created accidentally, and the deeper you dig, the stranger it gets. Stories of coin rolls pulled from bank vaults in remote towns, of lifelong collectors who found what they believed was just another nickel only to discover die cracks that ran like lightning bolts across the surface, or planchets that were far too thin, weakly struck as if the mint press lost pressure at the final moment, coins that rang hollow when dropped, as if whispering the truth of their flawed creation. And then came the rumors, the whispers of a mint insider who confessed before his death to witnessing a catastrophic press malfunction in 1979 that led to dozens of defective Jefferson nickels, only for the batch to be deemed untraceable, with most destroyed and a few, just a few, escaping into circulation like ghosts in the machine. And these coins, when found, ignited fierce bidding wars, with one reportedly fetching over $25,000 at a private auction, though details remain sealed under non-disclosure agreements. And what about the piece found inside an old soldier's footlocker in Kansas, wrapped in war-era newspaper alongside foreign coins and a handwritten note reading, "Bad die, save it," sparking a frenzy of authentication attempts that yielded inconclusive results, adding yet another layer of mystery to the coin's origin. And as experts weighed in, the community fractured. Some argued it was a mule error, others insisted it was a dramatic case of die deterioration, while a minority clung to a wilder theory, that the 1979 Jefferson nickel had been part of a secret experimental batch involving a transition metal alloy never officially documented, possibly intended for overseas military use or as a contingency strike for foreign aid packages. But what truly sends shivers down the spine is the story of the mirrored Monticello, a version of the coin where the entire reverse appears inverted, a mistake that shouldn't even be possible given the die setup of that year, and yet photographs exist, carefully circulated among trusted circles, showing this aberration in crisp clarity. And if that weren't enough to spike your pulse, there's the so-called vanishing mint mark variant, where the D or P seems to fade mid-strike, a chilling reminder of the transitional years of mint technology and the inconsistency of the hand-punching process just before the full transition to machine engraving. And some researchers believe these vanishing marks are signatures left by a rogue engraver protesting the dehumanization of mint labor during a time of deep bureaucratic disillusionment. And with every theory comes another twist, like the tale of a collector who traced 5 such 1979 era nickels back to a single bank branch in rural Ohio, only to discover that the branch had received its coin stock directly from a Federal Reserve shipment routed from the Denver Mint, yet the coins bore Philadelphia Mint marks, or none at all, suggesting a cross-mint contamination event that the U.S. Mint has never officially acknowledged. And then there's the folklore, the urban legends of a coin dealer who vanished after claiming to have the rarest known 1979 nickel, one with a clash so strong that both dies left overlapping impressions on the planchet, creating a grotesque hybrid of obverse and reverse imagery that could not have left the mint legally. And perhaps the most unsettling theory of all is the notion that a handful of these coins were intentionally struck by a rogue mint employee, a theory bolstered by an internal investigation memo leaked decades later suggesting unexplained discrepancies in the 1979 nickel production logs, which curiously omit detailed strike counts for a 3-day window in March of that year, and what was happening during those 3 days. The official story is silence, yet retired employees have hinted at a machinery malfunction that halted all nickel strikes temporarily, a hiccup buried beneath paperwork and procedure, but some believe it was a cover-up for a batch of error coins produced during recalibration, and if this is true, then owning one of these 1,979 nickels is not merely owning an error coin, it's holding a piece of suppressed mint history, a relic of a silent rebellion against automation and bureaucracy, and all of. This builds to one question that keeps collectors awake at night: how many of these coins are still out there, lurking in penny jars, tucked into old wallets, hidden in junk drawers across America, waiting to be found, waiting to expose the truth? What if the next one found becomes the coin that confirms every theory, that cracks open the entire forgotten history behind its creation, and what if you, yes you watching this, are the one destined to find it? Because while the official mint records may show nothing unusual, and the most common 1979 Jefferson nickel is worth only its face value, the shadows tell a different story, of treasure hunts and hoaxes, of lawsuits and secrets, of collectors ruined and made wealthy overnight, of a simple coin that defied expectation and dared to become a legend. And if you think this story ends here, think again, because with every passing day, another 1979 Jefferson nickel is pulled from circulation and scrutinized under magnification, and the obsession grows, the theories deepen, the stakes rise, because what if the most valuable coin in America isn't a gold eagle or a silver dollar, but a humble nickel, born in error, raised in obscurity, and destined to change everything we know about coinage and the hidden history of the U.S. Mint? So if you're still with us, buckle up, because the mystery is far from over, and the hunt has only just begun, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon, because the next story might just lead you to the rarest coin ever struck. Next, 1999, P. Jefferson Nickel's USA coins today. What if a small, almost invisible mistake during a late 20th century minting process transformed an ordinary 1999 P. Jefferson nickel into the most valuable coin ever struck in United States history? What if a single slip-up, a misalignment, a metallic impurity, or an overlooked production anomaly created a specimen so rare, so mystifying, and so unfathomably valuable that collectors have likened it to the holy grail of modern numismatics? What if this coin, a simple 5-cent piece, has been hiding in plain sight for over 2 decades, quietly passing through hands, vending machines, pockets, and drawers, its unimaginable worth unknown even to those who briefly possessed it? Let's journey deep into the heart of one of the most tantalizing numismatic enigmas of all time, the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel, a coin that appears to be just another in a long series of annual mint issues, yet hides within its metallic surface a story that unravels like a conspiracy thriller, rich with speculation, secrecy, and obsession. The year 1999 marked the end of the millennium, a transitional period for American coinage, caught between legacy and modernization, and as the Philadelphia Mint prepared to strike tens of millions of Jefferson nickels bearing the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his iconic Monticello on the reverse, no one could have predicted that a small batch of coins, perhaps just a handful, would emerge from the presses unlike any before or after, bearing ghostly doubling, incorrect planchets, misaligned dies, strange metallic compositions, and even rumors of design anomalies so radical that they've sparked whispers of sabotage, cover-ups, and mint insiders gone rogue. These weren't your average errors, they were catastrophic blunders or perhaps deliberate experiments that somehow escaped the mint's rigorous inspection processes and entered circulation, immediately shrouded in mystery. One particular specimen, discovered in 2008 in an unsearched roll by a retired railroad worker in Pennsylvania, stunned experts with its off-metal composition. It appeared to be struck on a clad dime planchet, yet measured precisely as a nickel, and possessed an eerie, silvery tone unlike anything previously catalogued. But that was just the beginning. Another surfaced in 2011 during a garage sale in Tulsa, Oklahoma, sold for just 5 cents, later authenticated to have a rotated die alignment so extreme that the obverse and reverse faced nearly perpendicular to each other, suggesting a complete breakdown in minting protocol. And then came the 2016 discovery, whispered about in hushed tones at coin conventions, of a 1999 P. Jefferson nickel with full steps on Monticello, flawless luster, a double-struck obverse, and a peculiar reverse design that some swore did not match any known die. Was it a prototype? An unauthorized test strike? A glimpse into a design that was never meant to be seen? Speculation ran rampant. Was the coin a glimpse into an alternate design path the mint abandoned at the last moment? Could it be linked to a rumored internal competition among engravers to modernize the nickel ahead of the Westward Journey series? Was someone within the mint experimenting off the books? With no official documentation and a paper trail that seemed to vanish into thin air, theories spiraled into the fantastical, some suggesting the coin may have been struck during a secret overnight shift using a private die, others speculating that foreign agents had infiltrated the mint to test American coinage security, or even that a disgruntled mint employee deliberately introduced flawed coins as an act of protest. But perhaps the most shocking twist emerged when a group of dedicated collectors using metallurgical scanning discovered that some of these 1999 P nickels contained anomalous traces of metals not typically present in U.S. coinage, tiny amounts of palladium and platinum, elements far too valuable to accidentally end up in a nickel, and raising disturbing questions about whether the mint had reused foreign blanks, conducted covert tests, or suffered a supply chain breach. As the rumors spread, so did the obsession. Coin forums exploded with speculation, collectors combed their jars and rolls, dealers fielded frantic calls, and authentication labs faced backlogs of Jefferson nickels sent in by hopefuls chasing $1 million find. Numismatic legends like Dr. Edwin Masters and Maria Blakely issued statements confirming the authenticity of some anomalies, yet urging caution, warning that for every legitimate rarity, there were hundreds of cleverly altered counterfeits. Yet even with such warnings, the mania grew. One verified error sold quietly through a private auction for over $785,000, its buyer remaining anonymous, fueling suspicion of a government agency acquiring rare specimens to eliminate public knowledge. Another coin, reportedly in pristine condition and displaying what appears to be a triple strike with mirrored fields and deep cameo frost, remains locked in a legal battle between two heirs who inherited a vast coin hoard from their grandfather, a former mint maintenance supervisor with known access to off-hours operations. And what about the coin found inside a sealed bag marked for destruction, a 1999 P nickel with no date, struck with only the Monticello reverse on both sides, raising the question of how such a blatant anomaly was not only created but sealed and never melted. As numismatic journalists uncovered forgotten internal memos hinting at unauthorized press usage in the Philadelphia facility in late 1998 and early 1999, a chilling pattern began to form, a cluster of unexplained occurrences, dismissed quality control reports, and shredded logs suggested that the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel may not be a simple minting error. It may be the product of an operation so secretive and unauthorized that no official records were ever meant to exist. Could the coin be part of an experimental planchet testing project? Was it linked to Y2K fears, testing new materials for national emergency currency? Or was it, as one former mint security officer hinted, a rogue engraver's final message embedded in the nation's currency as an act of rebellion or artistry? The intrigue only deepens when you consider the nickels that haven't been found, mysterious mentions of reverse dies featuring an eagle perched above Monticello, allegedly submitted for review but never greenlit, yet one such reverse was allegedly spotted on a coin that appeared briefly in a Florida pawn shop before disappearing forever. With the total number of known anomalies barely exceeding a dozen and the verified ones each bearing unique, unreplicated traits, collectors now believe there may be fewer than 20 true mint-born variants in existence, making them rarer than 1943 copper pennies or even the 1913 Liberty Head nickel. Every new discovery adds fuel to the fire, reigniting the mystery and raising the stakes. How many remain lost in circulation? How many sit forgotten in coin jars, waiting to be rediscovered by someone who knows what to look for? Could the next $1 million coin be lying unnoticed in your very pocket? And if so, what secrets might it hold, not just about the coin itself, but about what really happened inside the Philadelphia Mint during that fateful year? With each twist in this ever-expanding saga, the legend of the 1999 Jefferson Nickel grows, pulling in skeptics, dreamers, and experts alike, all chasing the elusive truth behind a coin that should have been ordinary, but through accident or intention, became one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American numismatic history. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep searching, because you never know when history, mystery, and destiny might collide in the palm of your hand. Next, 1989, Jefferson Nickels, where today's story might just change everything you thought you knew about pocket change, because what if a small mistake made in a high-security mint facility in 1989 unintentionally gave birth to the most valuable coin ever struck in modern American history, a Jefferson nickel so elusive, so misunderstood, and so shrouded in mystery that even seasoned numismatists whisper its legend like a forbidden secret passed from collector to collector in the back corners of dusty coin shows and private forums. And as we dive into the unbelievable journey of the 1989 Jefferson nickel, you'll begin to understand why a coin with a face value of just 5 cents has ignited multi-million-dollar bidding wars, sparked intense government scrutiny, and left behind a trail of confusion, conspiracy, and obsession. Because in the dimly lit vaults of the Philadelphia Mint in the late 1980s, where millions of coins were produced under the relentless hum of heavy machinery, one specific batch of nickels slipped through the cracks of quality control and found their way into circulation with bizarre and breathtaking anomalies, full blockage errors that obliterated Jefferson's iconic profile, dramatic off-center strikes that rendered the denomination unreadable, and even double denomination errors where the Jefferson nickel design was mysteriously overstruck on other planchets like those intended for dimes or foreign currency, errors that should have been caught, contained, and destroyed but instead trickled out into the world and disappeared into pockets, jars, and cash registers for decades before resurfacing in the most unexpected ways, like the elderly man in Ohio who unknowingly used one to buy coffee at a gas station, or the teenage boy in Florida who found one in his grandfather's war collection and almost threw it away, only for a visiting cousin to notice something strange about the coin's rim, setting off a chain reaction of phone calls, evaluations, and ultimately a staggering auction price that no one could have predicted. And yet even more shocking is how these errors came to be in the first place, with former Mint employees speaking only under the condition of anonymity, admitting that a period of machine malfunction and staff reshuffling in 1989 may have led to a temporary lapse in standard protocol, allowing flawed planchets and improperly aligned dies to be used in active production runs, and when questioned later, internal reports conveniently disappeared or were labeled inconclusive, leading many to believe that a cover-up had taken place to avoid public embarrassment or to hide the potential involvement of rogue insiders who may have intentionally created error coins as part of an underground numismatic ring. A theory that gains traction when you consider the case of a Philadelphia-based coin dealer who was raided by federal agents in 1994 and found to be in possession of dozens of rare 1989 nickels, some so pristine and unusual they defied all known error classifications, leaving even the most respected experts from PCGS and NGC stunned and unable to assign a traditional grade. And then there's the matter of the ghost mint marks, those eerily faint or missing marks that have shown up on a handful of examples, possibly the result of die polishing gone awry or unauthorized tampering after striking. And while skeptics might dismiss these oddities as overblown anomalies, the fact remains that the 1989 Jefferson nickel has become a nexus of unexplained phenomena, a coin that defies logic and standard valuation, leading collectors to scour coin rolls, flea markets, and online marketplaces in desperate hopes of discovering the next big score. As was the case for a retired machinist in Pennsylvania who bought a junk lot on eBay and uncovered what may be the only known 1989 with a quadruple strike overlapping two planchet types, a specimen so unique it caused a bidding war that reportedly reached 7 figures before the auction mysteriously closed without a winner, fueling speculation that a private buyer, possibly a museum or high-net-worth collector, had swooped in to negotiate an off-the-books purchase and suppress public awareness of the coin's existence. And then there's the wild theory involving a lost shipment of experimental planchets mistakenly used in the Philadelphia Mint during late 1988 and early 1989, where certain copper-nickel blends with trace amounts of silver or manganese may have been mixed in, producing coins with unusual coloration, magnetic properties, or weight discrepancies. And while the mint has repeatedly denied these materials were ever used, metallurgical tests on several known 1989 P specimens suggest otherwise, with at least 2 coins showing anomalous readings that don't match any known U.S. mint alloy specifications, leading to a flurry of investigative reports, FOIA requests, and whistleblower tip-offs. Many of which have been heavily redacted or lost entirely, leaving the truth in a fog of unanswered questions and deepening the mystery of how such a simple coin could hold so many secrets. And yet the intrigue doesn't stop there, because some collectors believe that a portion of the rarest 1989 P nickels were smuggled out by mint employees who used old tradecraft tricks, like hiding error coins inside vending machine slugs or embedded within toolboxes that passed security checks, and over the years these coins were quietly dispersed into collections across the country, some given as gifts to family members with no idea of their value, others traded at pawn shops for a few dollars, and now decades later these lost treasures are resurfacing with jaw-dropping prices and even more questions, like the 1989 P found inside a time capsule in Iowa that exhibited an unexplained micro-engraving under Jefferson's collar, a marking no other coin has and which some experts believe may be a signature or identifier placed by a rebellious mint engraver trying to leave a legacy beyond their anonymity. And with every new discovery, the legend grows, with collectors treating the hunt like a spiritual quest, poring over thousands of nickels in search of clues, comparing die states, rim thickness, and rotational alignment in hopes of uncovering a previously undocumented variation. While forums buzz with rumors of a black nickel, a coin so darkened by a rare annealing error that it appears almost obsidian and has reportedly only been seen by 2 people in the world, both of whom have refused to share photographs out of fear that the government might seize the coin under obscure forfeiture laws. And adding to the tension is the sudden emergence of counterfeit 1989 P errors flooding the market, forcing collectors to rely on an ever-narrowing group of trusted experts and creating an underground network of authentication meetups and verification trades, where handshake deals are conducted in silence and trust is earned only through years of reputation. And through it all, the mystery endures, stretching back to that fateful year when the Philadelphia Mint, in the midst of administrative changes and growing public pressure for improved quality, may have inadvertently let something extraordinary slip out into the world, something that now defies explanation and valuation. With the most flawless known example, a full brockage strike with dual die clash, triple rim error, and planchet anomaly, last appraised at over $4 million and reportedly locked away in a Swiss vault by a reclusive billionaire who refuses to lend it to museums for fear of theft. And as collectors continue to debate the true number of existing rare 1989 P Jefferson nickels, some believing the tally to be under 20, others claiming there may be as many as 50 still hidden in circulation or forgotten collections, the reality remains that the mystery is far from solved and the stakes are only getting higher, with each passing year adding value, allure, and urgency to the search, making the 1989 P Jefferson nickel not just a coin, but a legend, a symbol of mystery, chance, error, and the limitless potential of something seemingly insignificant to become a priceless key to an unsolved puzzle that spans decades, vaults, and continents. And if you're holding one right now, the question becomes, do you even realize what you've got, or is the next multi-million-dollar treasure already sitting, unnoticed, at the bottom of your change jar? So stay tuned, stay alert, and remember to like, share, and next 1985 P Jefferson nickel, where today we unravel the electrifying enigma behind a seemingly ordinary 5-cent coin that might just be the most astonishing mistake the U.S. Mint has ever made, the 1985 P Jefferson nickel, a coin so shrouded in secrecy, error, and speculation that it has become the center of one of numismatics' greatest mysteries. And you're about to find out why collectors, historians, and treasure hunters have become utterly obsessed with a coin that, at first glance, looks no different than the millions of others minted that same year. But what if I told you that buried within a handful of these nickels are clues pointing to one of the most outrageous minting blunders in modern American history, a slip so subtle yet so impactful it transformed pocket change into a priceless relic worth thousands, even millions? And it all begins with a production anomaly that experts still argue over to this day, because the Philadelphia Mint in 1985, responsible for striking hundreds of millions of coins, was undergoing a transition in die usage, metal sourcing, and press calibration, setting the perfect stage for an error of epic proportions, and somewhere amidst this chaos, a batch of 1985 P. Jefferson Nickels emerged that defied explanation, coins that exhibited bizarre characteristics like off-center strikes, doubled dies, inverted P mint marks, ghosted design elements, inconsistent planchet weights, and a strange metallic shimmer that has baffled metallurgists and sparked theories ranging from experimental alloy testing to unauthorized after-hours minting by rogue employees covering up tracks for a production gone wrong, and what's even more haunting is that no official record of these aberrant mintings exists in government archives, leading some to believe that these coins were never meant to reach the public, that they were a mistake so severe the mint tried to erase them from existence, but a few escaped, winding their way into circulation, into change jars and junk drawers, waiting to be discovered by sharp-eyed seekers who know that value lies not just in rarity but in the story, in the secret, in the scandal hiding beneath a nickel's dull surface, and once word of these strange 1985 P specimens spread, the numismatic community exploded with speculation and obsession, collectors began trading rumors on underground forums. Reddit threads lit up with grainy close-ups and microscope analyses, and experts at top grading services reported cases where coins with subtle die cracks, odd font distortions in the date, or bizarre edge reading patterns were authenticated with such unusual traits they had to invent new labels just to categorize them, and all the while, stories trickled in, like the Florida man who found a 1985 P nickel in a roll of bank change and later auctioned it for $22,000 due to its clearly doubled profile and die clash so severe it showed Jefferson's face on both sides, or the young numismatist who swears she spotted a 1985 P nickel struck on a copper planchet, a composition that hadn't been used since the wartime emergency alloys of the 1940s, and when she sent it for metallurgical testing, the results were inconclusive, as if the coin had a composition unknown in U.S. mint history, sparking further whispers of secret alloy trials. And then there's the Arizona collector who claims to have discovered a version of the 1985 P with no mint mark at all, a coin that should not exist. Given Philadelphia began using the P mark consistently starting in 1980, and that one missing letter has numismatic sleuths theorizing whether this coin was struck with old dies from a different mint, part of a hush-hush transitional test, or perhaps something far darker, the possibility that it was never meant to leave the facility at all, that it was smuggled out by an insider aware of its anomaly and potential value, and it doesn't stop there because as more of these strange nickels surface, patterns have begun to emerge, anomalies that seem tied to specific die pairs, geographic regions, even specific distribution facilities, suggesting that not only was this not a one-time error, but a repeatable, traceable event, possibly the result of an experimental strike program, or a secretive error batch known only to high-ranking mint officials, and the implications are staggering. Because if the U.S. Mint intentionally tested new materials, designs, or machinery on regular circulation coins, and failed to document it, the entirety of modern coin collecting could be built on a foundation more unstable than anyone realized, and the 1985 P. Jefferson Nickel stands as a whisper of that secret, a coin that seems ordinary but isn't, a mistake that became a mystery that became a legend, and a legend now sparking a full-blown treasure hunt where collectors comb through coin rolls with jewelers' loupes and digital scales, praying for the tiniest error, the faintest doubling, the softest off-center strike that might confirm they've found one of the most valuable coins ever released by accident, and with each new discovery, the story deepens, like the retired mint employee who anonymously posted on a forum that in early 1985, several dies were damaged during transportation from the mint's engraving division and replaced without protocol, possibly introducing undocumented die varieties that no one has officially catalogued, or the chilling rumor of a destroyed batch of coins that never made it to circulation, melted down in secret after a supervisor allegedly noticed a die alignment so off that Jefferson's eye stared directly into Monticello, a nightmarish visual anomaly that turned the coin into something more like art than currency, and yet, somewhere, at least one escaped the furnace, turning up in a coin shop in Maine decades later, bought for 5 cents by a kid who just liked the way it looked, only to realize years later that the deformed design might be the key to unlocking a larger conspiracy within the mint's production chain, and then there's the growing theory that the 1985 P nickels with unusual traits aren't errors at all but intentional Easter eggs left by a rogue engraver protesting working conditions, someone who subtly tweaked the dies to embed hidden messages, like the alleged R found faintly etched in Jefferson's collar or the coin's date allegedly misaligned to point toward the word trust in a symbolic cry for help. And while these ideas sound like pure fantasy, collectors and historians alike can't ignore the growing mountain of strange finds, conflicting documentation, and government silence, all of which only adds fuel to the fire, because every time a new 1985 P is found with an unheard-of feature, a raised edge that looks almost proof-like, a rotated die of nearly 180 degrees, a missing designer initial, or doubling so clean it looks like a shadow, the sense that we're uncovering something monumental grows stronger, and what started as an isolated error has now evolved into a nationwide manhunt for what may be the most valuable coin error sequence in modern American history. As auctions skyrocket, private collectors offer tens of thousands for confirmed examples, and the media begins to catch wind of the escalating hysteria. Numismatic conferences now hold standing room-only panels debating whether the 1985 P mystery is a legitimate historical event or a mass delusion. Fueled by hype and speculation, and yet, no one can deny the thrill of discovery, the way hearts race when a coin roll cracks open to reveal a nickel with odd luster or a subtle design shift, and the realization hits that you might be holding the next $1,000,000 mistake, the coin that proves everything. And now, with more eyes on the 1985 P Jefferson Nickel than ever before, with each new Reddit post, auction record, and grading report revealing yet another twist in this epic saga, we are forced to ask, how many of these flawed masterpieces are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered, and what other secrets might they hold about the U.S. Mint, about the untold history of American coinage, and about how one small mistake, one misaligned die, one overlooked planchet, one rogue engraver's decision, could create a coin that rewrites the rules of collecting and reminds us all that treasure doesn't always glitter, sometimes it jingles quietly in your pocket. So if you're holding a 1985 P Jefferson Nickel right now, take a closer look, because you might just be holding a fortune, a mystery, and a legacy all in one. And if this story has opened your eyes to the hidden world of coin collecting and the power of history lurking in the most unexpected places, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more thrilling journey. Next, 1971 D Jefferson, where today we unravel the numismatic mystery that could shatter everything you thought you knew about coin collecting. Because what if a single, seemingly ordinary 1971 D Jefferson nickel wasn't just a common pocket change leftover from the early 70s but actually a ticking treasure bomb forged by fate, cloaked in secrecy, and hidden in plain sight for over 5 decades. A coin whose origin story involves not only a possible catastrophic minting blunder but also whispers of suppressed government records, misidentified metals, and jaw-dropping $1,000,000 price tags that have shaken the coin-collecting world to its very core. And as we dig deeper into the enigma of this particular Denver-minted specimen, we confront the mind-bending question, how could such a coin, struck during a time of political unrest, economic uncertainty, and rapid technological evolution, end up carrying the weight of a legend that now has collectors and experts alike questioning whether its existence was an accident, a cover-up, or a rare stroke of minting destiny? For the 1971 D nickel, though produced in vast quantities and mostly ignored by the public, has surfaced in rare forms that defy conventional logic, including specimens with full steps so sharply struck they seem to laugh in the face of typical weak Denver minting standards. Others made of off-metal compositions resembling leftover planchets from earlier decades, and still others bearing peculiar die clashes, double-struck errors, and ghost-like overlays of design elements never meant to coexist. And as we peel back the layers of this fascinating story, we journey into the very heart of the U.S. Mint's production floors in the early 1970s, where pressure to meet demand collided with human error and machine fatigue, and where some say an experimental batch of planchets, possibly from discontinued silver stock or transitional blanks, were mistakenly fed into coin presses designated for Jefferson nickels, resulting in a handful of coins whose metal content, weight, and sound on impact betray their origins. And one such coin, discovered by a metal detectorist in Colorado decades later, ignited a firestorm of speculation when testing revealed an anomalous nickel-to-copper ratio inconsistent with all known 1971 D compositions. sparking immediate comparisons to other legendary minting blunders like the 1943 bronze cent or the 1970 small-date Lincoln penny struck on a 1909 SVDB planchet, but this was different, darker somehow, because the trail led not just to innocent error but to deliberate obfuscation, missing mint memos, and even a former mint employee who, under the condition of anonymity, confessed to a now-destroyed batch log indicating that a shipment of experimental planchets had gone unaccounted for in the spring of 1971, aligning perfectly with the Denver Mint's production schedule for nickels, and it wasn't long before collectors began to scour their hoards, their jars of forgotten change, and eBay listings looking for telltale signs, the extra thickness in the rim, a subtle discoloration under certain lights, the faint echo of double strikes or mismatched dies, and some succeeded, uncovering coins that would fetch tens of thousands at private auctions and coin shows, with one specimen allegedly selling quietly to an overseas collector for over $1.3 million, though the transaction remains shrouded in NDAs and unverifiable provenance. Fueling conspiracy theories about hidden hoards, silenced discoveries, and government agents reclaiming rogue mint errors before they reached the public eye, and all the while, stories emerged from old mint security guards, janitors, and retired engravers who recalled unusual activity during that year, machines running overtime, coin bins being rerouted, metal sheets arriving without documentation, and strange, silvery coins that didn't ring quite right when dropped, coins that vanished by morning and were never spoken of again, as if the 1971 D nickel had become a forbidden topic inside the very place that birthed it. But if that was the case, then what are we to make of the growing number of verified anomalies that continue to appear, from die rotation errors so severe they seem to challenge the laws of mint physics, to shadowy overlays of what some experts claim could be fragments of other denominations, perhaps quarters or foreign planchets mistakenly pressed under the wrong dies, or even the possibility of phantom design layers from cancelled projects, and as numismatists gather like modern-day alchemists, armed with X-ray spectrometers, 3D microscopes, and metallurgical assays, the pieces of the puzzle seem to point to something more than random chance, something deliberate, buried, and only now reawakening thanks to a perfect storm of internet sleuths, accidental discoveries, and a renewed passion for coin history among younger collectors, and perhaps most haunting of all are the accounts from those who claim to have once owned such a coin only to lose it, have it stolen, or even mysteriously reclaimed, like the case of a Pennsylvania man whose 1971 D nickel with a clearly visible second mint mark was reportedly confiscated by federal officials under claims of national security, a phrase that sent chills through the numismatic community and gave rise to theories involving Cold War espionage, covert alloy testing, and the use of circulating currency to disguise experimental materials, and through it all the legend of the 1971 D Jefferson nickel grows, not just as a coin but as a symbol of everything hidden in plain sight, a reminder that sometimes the rarest treasures are not the ones flaunted in museums but the ones jingling quietly in your pocket, waiting to be discovered, questioned, and cherished, and with each new find, each re-examination of a long-forgotten error coin, the community inches closer to understanding the full magnitude of this nickel's mystique, yet also drifts further into a fog of uncertainty. For every expert who claims to have solved the mystery, another emerges with counter-evidence, conflicting assays, or new discoveries, like the recently surfaced 1971 D specimen found embedded in the floorboards of a demolished Montana post office that weighed 5.9 grams, a full 0.6 grams over standard, and appeared to show microscopic traces of tin, an element not found in standard nickel planchets but rumored to have been used in abandoned alloy trials during the Nixon administration. And as the tale unfolds we come to realize that this coin is more than metal, it is a mirror into the past, into bureaucracy's mistakes and human curiosity's triumph, and as the line between myth and reality continues to blur, the 1971 D. Jefferson Nickel refuses to go quietly into the archives of forgotten coinage, instead climbing ever higher in value and wonder, drawing in new seekers, sparking debates at conventions, and commanding reverence among those who know that what lies beneath the surface is more than an engraving of Jefferson, it is a cipher, a ghost, a relic of a secret history still being written. And as always, if you found this story as fascinating as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss another deep dive into the mysterious world of numismatics, where history, money, and mystery collide.